Our conversation with Greg Brown of the Pirates brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. You know that show Lost? But we've lost Greg Brown, and we finally found him this morning. Greg, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's good to be found.
My goodness gracious! I mean, you're the voice of spring for me. I need you on the air doing Pirate baseball, and thankfully we've had those vintage broadcasts that to help us along. But boy, do we need baseball, don't we?
Well, yeah, and I appreciate those kind words, but I need it. We need it for all various selfish reasons to a degree. The nation needs it. And I'm just hopeful. My fingers are crossed that before long we're back. I don't know that fans will be back immediately, but at some point we at least have the great game of baseball back because, as you said, we do need it, and it will fill a huge void for so many of us.
Hey, take me back to Bradenton when the news came down that everything was shutting down. The Pirates had just come off the field, literally. When that news came down. What was that like for you?
You know, Todd, I'll remember vividly for the rest of my life, the night before that final game, I was up in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is about maybe a half hour north of Bradenton. I was out with some sponsors and partners of AT&T Sportsnet having a kind of our annual dinner. And a really nice restaurant. And there weren't a ton of, maybe a dozen around the table, and just chatting about the upcoming season, about spring. They had just arrived the day before from the Pittsburgh area. And during dinner, I got the text or tweet, I guess, about the NBA shutting down. And I said, and I was not working that final game, as it turns out, the final game of spring, the next day. And I had a day off, and we were talking about maybe a swing by the ballpark to hang out with some of those sponsors and clients for a couple of innings. And when I got that text, I said to all of them, I said, I don't think this is hyperbole here, but you guys could be watching the last sporting event tomorrow in a long, long time. And they just kind of chuckled about it. And I said, no, if the NBA shut down, there's no way baseball is going to play spring training much longer.
Yeah.
And I knew that again, the Pirates had an afternoon game, and there were some evening games in Florida and Arizona. Never in my wildest dreams did I think, of course, that it would be lasting this long. What's going on is so surreal for so many of us. And then I hung around Bradenton for a while. My son was studying in Dublin, Ireland, international student, and a few days after that, the government suggested that U.S. citizens come home, and he did, and he and I quarantined in Bradenton in my condo for 2 weeks, and as it turns out, he was tested. MLB, Major League Baseball, did a study of 27 of the 30 teams did it,
mm-hmm.
and he was one of the, I think, 7% or less who tested for the antibodies.
Wow.
He had it. I have not, and so we're just continuing to, as the governor says, we got to, I guess, shelter in place for who knows how long.
Wow, that is amazing. So let's talk a little bit about baseball, because that's so much more fun.
Yes. Oh, my gosh, yes.
And the ball club, as you were seeing it unfold before you in spring training, and as the new manager, Derek Shelton, was putting it together, what did you like? What did you think? Okay, maybe this is something that we've got a little bit of hope in this fellow or that player.
Well, first and foremost, I just loved the person in Derek Shelton, a real breath of fresh air. People are going to get to know him and really like him. The players already have. I sensed, without a doubt, the change. The atmosphere was palpable in that clubhouse in Bradenton. From the players to the staff, broadcasters, we kind of chuckled about it. Like we could walk around the clubhouse without walking on eggshells and not look over our shoulders. And I think the players felt the same way. just an entirely different attitude. And I have said for a long time over the winter, since the changes were made, if fun equates to winning, the Pirates will win more games without a shadow of a doubt. Now, I believe that I'm a better worker, an employee, when I am handed an assignment, given something to do, and not have my supervisor or supervisors looking over my shoulder and pointing out mistake after mistake. Having the confidence in me, do my job and do it with a passion and an enjoyment. And I believe that we are all better in any walk of life, given that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's what it's going to be like when we do return. And I do believe that we will be better, the team will be better because of that.
We think about Pirate baseball over the last 30 years or so, and you've been affiliated with this team about that long, haven't you?
Well, yeah, that's probably being kind. I've been probably, if you include the 5 minor league years where I was not a Pirate employee, but I happened to be broadcasting for the minor league affiliate, it's over 40 years, which is absolutely incredible for me to kind of wrap my head around. But yeah, it's basically it's been a long time, and it's been a dream come true as a kid growing up, wanting to be involved in sports and to be involved with the Pirates has been an absolute joy for me.
Well, we've been enjoying these vintage broadcasts and thinking back to those Pirates teams that we so enjoyed down through the years. So take me back to 19 whatever and walking into Three River Stadium for the first time, knowing I'm doing a Pirates broadcast here because I'm a Pirates play-by-play guy. What does that feel like for young Greg Brown?
I guess the memory that stands out for me was my first ever broadcast as a Major League announcer, and that was an exhibition game at Old Jacobs Field, a new ballpark in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. They had left the old stadium on the lake and moved into the brand new ballpark, and the Pirates and Indians played an exhibition game before the season started. And I remember vividly sitting there at my place and the butterflies, the nerves, the excitement. It was a beautiful afternoon, sold-out ballpark, and even though it was an exhibition game for me, it might have been the 7th game of the World Series, the way I approached it. And, just really hard to comprehend, very, again, surreal to actually believe I had achieved a lifelong dream. And even to this day, I mean, it's been so long, but I don't lose sight of that I get to do, and we all do in many ways, thankfully, that are in this business of broadcasting. I think anybody that's gotten into broadcasting, I think you can attest to this. We do it not for. I tell kids this a lot. That, if you want to become a broadcaster, whether it's a talk show, a play-by-play, color analyst, or get into the broadcasting business, do not do it because you think you're going to get a big paycheck someday. Do it for the love, the passion that you have for it, and then the rest will take care of itself. And so I think, again, we're all awfully fortunate. I know I am doing what I love to do.
Yeah. Who are you working with? When was that?
That was with Bob Walk. That was, I want to say, about April 2nd, I think, of 1994. Mm-hmm. And just before I took the air, John Sanders, who was a longtime Pittsburgh sports personality, he was the sports director at KDK-TV, and he actually did a few years of Pirate play-by-play on radio and television. John had moved on to the Cleveland Indians a couple years before that, and I had known him for a long time. And he came in and wished me good luck. Kind of gave me a couple pointers about just the personalities in the business, because egos can be very large in this business, and just kind of watch for any minefields along the way, and patted me on the back and said, "Go get them." And I'll never forget that either.
And '94 was an all-star year too for Pittsburgh, wasn't it?
It was, and you know, I've got about a 2-minute story. Do you have time?
Yeah, do it.
So '94, Steve Blass, as you know, he's a longtime co-worker and has become a good friend. Back then, I'd known Steve because I worked in the front office of the Pirates for years, and actually Steve Blass and Mike Lang did cable TV early in the mid-'80s, and I was pre- and post-game host, so I got to know both of them. Anyway, my first public appearance was, I want to say it was the Butler Country Club. It was about maybe 2 weeks after the strike hit. The strike hit in 1994 in August of that year. And the Pirates, it was a bad year because Bonds and Bonilla and Bonds, Bonilla, Drabick, Smiley, they were all gone, and the team was in bad shape. And so here, a team just awful, and the strike hits my very first year as a broadcaster. When I went up to Buffalo, I not only did minor league baseball, but I also did Buffalo Bills football, and actually went to the 4 Super Bowls in the radio booth. And anyway, so my first public appearance, I'm a guest speaker at a luncheon at the Butler Country Club. I felt like there were 5,000 people there. There might have been 50, but it looked like there were 5,000 to me. Nervous as all get out. Steve, my buddy, introduces me at this luncheon, and he gets up and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce to you our guest speaker today. When he left the Pirates in 1989, the Pirates began a string of winning 3 consecutive National League Eastern Division titles. He went to Buffalo, where he broadcast Buffalo Bills football. The team promptly lost 4 consecutive Super Bowls. Now he's back in Pittsburgh. He's a Pirate broadcaster. The team's in last place, and there's a baseball strike. Please welcome our guest speaker and good luck charm, Greg Brown."
Oh, man.
My buddy.
Nobody but Blass, huh?
Nobody better. Nobody better.
A couple of moments left with Greg Brown of the Pirates today. Of course, the story coming out today about the Players Union and the Major League Baseball trying to hack it out here and figure out how to get a season going. Revenue is as always, at the heart of it. Do they ever figure this thing out, Greg?
Well, I don't see how they don't. I don't see how something doesn't happen. We touched on it early that it's too important for the game and too important for our nation. So I believe that common sense will prevail, and yes, I do believe something will give in the next. I don't know. I think they have I read an article yesterday that basically cut it down to if you think about if they want to start the season at 4th. I can't imagine. I get goosebumps thinking about baseball returning, which I think is their target date, that week, the 4th of July weekend. I just can't imagine what that would be like, and the national attention, international attention it would have, focused on baseball, of all times, to return to this great game on the 4th of July. So I think that if that's the target, and the players want about 3 weeks of spring training, and here we are in the middle of May, we have about a 2-week to 2.5-week window, it would seem to me, to get something hammered out. So the fact that they're talking and something is giving, I'm confident in something happening.
Yeah, well, they better come together pretty quick because they got to build that arm strength up. All right, Greg Brown. Mark Burdig's upstairs, and Mark Burdig, as always, has a question. And this one is, do you remember that quaint little Italian restaurant, Nap's Cucina Mia, in downtown Indiana? And are you going to pick up the bill this time?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. No, resounding no. And the first part of the question from Mark is absolutely one of the best meals I've ever had. It had nothing to do with the fact that he finally picked up the check. But I am anxious to get back there, and will before too long, certainly by the end of the year. And I will make certain to follow him because, like I said, it's important that he pick up the check. I think it does us all so good when it always tastes better when he buys.
I'll agree with you. They're doing takeout now, so They're
Oh
there.
man, that sounds really good now.
They're just waiting for you. Just cruise on by. They'll fix you right up.
Oh, that's a great idea. I will do that.
Greg Brown, thanks for spending some time. It's good talking baseball again, isn't it?
You too, man. Hey, thanks a million for having me on.
It's my pleasure. Anytime. Thanks, Greg.
Take care.
Have a great day. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS AM 1160 and 101.1 FM. 101.1 FM. 101.